So we're seeing pretty major shifts in industries across everything and how they operate. And one of them is basically, obviously, that AI is becoming a big part of that change. And I don't think HR is an exception.
AI and the digital transformation is discussed in terms of its innovation and efficiency. But the missing puzzle here, we would like to ask more difficult and more interesting questions. AI transformation for whom and under what conditions, with what consequence on employers and employees?
And I think a really good way to kind of open that up for discussion is to think about what HR has been traditionally. So if you look at its origins, it was traditionally this kind of personnel management, really administrative, very kind of process-driven profession that, operated in kind of quarterly and annual cycles. Now with AI, we're seeing a rapid transformation of this, all across the employee life cycle, from when we recruit and select people to how we onboard them, learning and development, for how we retain people and how we support their careers. And the key, there's really two key factors that are driving that link to AI. One is this availability of data and real-time information on what our workforce is doing. And the second is the capacity we now have to automate a lot of this kind of administrative work, like payroll, contracts, even like policy writing and how we share this in organizations.
Agree. In particularly for organizations, decision is gradually shaped by AI. Why? Especially from the overall HRM functions, starting from the HRM planning. Organizations can leverage the power of big data to really analyze the internal organizational information and external information, in particular social media information, to understand
yes, that's a good point.
To understand the employee's perception of the organization image. Also from the recruitment selection, performance management, performance evaluation. So this actually can be really done by AI, very helpful, which is particularly helpful for entrepreneurial ventures. So business owner, entrepreneurs, they can really leverage the power of AI to really do better HRM.
So, okay, just sort of like summarizing a bit of what you're saying about the big picture then is historically, it's very process heavy, right? Payrolls, process heavy, contracts, help desk. But what we're saying here is, which is a lot of other industries too, is that with automation, it's really reshaping decisions. And what you're saying is it's now more continuous. So the life cycle's really changed. And we're getting more real-time intelligence.
Which means you can intervene in your workforce in different ways. So if you think about HR historically, it was all kind of lagging data points.
Exactly.
So, if someone, for retention, you're relying on things like exit interviews.
Well, the person's gone.
Or engagement surveys. This is once a year, your attrition data. Now you can get those kind of insights almost in real time. And it means you can be a lot more proactive. And that opens up new possibilities for how you can support your workforce, right?
Exactly. Also for the HRM strategy. Nowadays, we really enable such AI-enabled workforce to make strategic decisions. We can look at mega cities in global context, for example, like Beijing, Shanghai, even New York and Tokyo. So those organizations largely leverage the power of AI. Some of them, they already have AI embedded system in their organizational management, while other medium-sized or small-sized enterprises, so they can leverage the power of the third party, such as a professional AI agency, help them to make better strategic decisions.
Okay, so that's then the third shift. So the first one was the fact that decisions are more continuous, there's real-time intelligence, but HR is then more strategic. And the fact that you have more of this real-time data, the capability to understand it, is making HR more central to organizational strategy, and they can be more nimble and flexible, which is what every organization wants to be, not just small companies, not just entrepreneurs, not just startups, but also large organizations now really want to be more nimble.
Exactly. Multinational enterprises, they are at the frontier to leverage the power of AI, as well as robots.
Okay. So decisions about people are reshaped. There's real-time workforce visibility. HR is now pulled into this as a centre organising strategy as part of that. And basically, what does that mean day to day when you're working in HR?
I think it means two things. So I mentioned before, it means that you can intervene more proactively.
Yeah.
And so this opens up new opportunities for you to support your workforce.
Yeah.
So when you've got like kind of real-time engagement data or performance data, when things aren't quite working as well as you would like, it means that you can put in place strategies or initiatives to address them earlier on. I think we also need to acknowledge, you know, there are AI can be used for good, it can be used for ill.
Yes.
So alongside, you know, using AI-driven insights to better support and to coach your staff, there's also the possibility that it leads to, and the literature tells us there's things, you know, more negative outcomes.
Monitoring.
Monitoring,
Yes.
work intensification. So anyone who's watching, if you Google Amazon and algorithmic management, you can see, you know, how unintentionally maybe it really degrades the kind of work experience for people. And surveillance is another one. You'd see in the news or in the media, there's been cases where organizations have installed keystroke monitoring software.
Of course.
And look,
there's an ethical issue to that.
There's an ethical issue, there's privacy, but I think what's more fundamental, it's about that trust between organization and employee and what doing those sorts of things does to that relationship.
Agree. That is that AI is not purely a story of technology. Instead, I believe AI is a story of people, because I ask questions to my students when we critically evaluate AI. Who designed the AI system? Which data? So they leverage those data to train AI to determine the pattern. Also, we need to really look at who is gained, who is lost in such AI evaluation and make everyone more inclusive. That is that this is not just simply technology for AI, but it's about the digital leadership, such as Anna said. We need to create trust and we need to create support and to mentor and support people in the organization rather than just use AI to over monitoring workplace performance.
Yeah, I think like in essence, I'd boil it down to HR's role in looking at the digital transformation or AI transformation in the workplace is really to take into consideration both those cultural aspects and the compliance aspects. How do we make sure we're doing this, you know, ethically and according to regulations that may be emerging to guide it?
Okay, great. Well, we'll stop there and we're going to look at what that means day to day in a bit more detail when you're working in HR. So thank you.
Thank you.